Thank you, Presiding Officer, and thank you to Keith Brown for giving us the opportunity to debate this important subject. Before moving to the central thrust of what I want to say, I want to just respond to a few things that Alexander Stewart said. He's saying that we want to put a limit on what councils borrow. Well, why not do that? Why not change the rules as to what they can borrow rather than put the costs up? He also says that councils are struggling to service debt. Well, I'm sure it will help them to service debts to increase the interest rate by 56%. 56% the increase. And under the prudential borrowing rules that councils work within, that means they will have to reduce the number of projects that they fund by this mechanism by 1/3, so that they only pay the same interest that they're currently paying. So the effect on this small change in terms of what interest might be paid each year is fundamental to the way in which councils are able to renew public infrastructure. Because let's look at this. It's the Public Works Loan Board. This money is for public works. And it's simply unacceptable that in hard times, the UK government is making it fundamentally more difficult for councils in Scotland, and indeed across the UK, to do what their local communities require. Many councils, including my own, rely on the PWLB. Last year, we borrowed 819 million, so the increased rate is going to have an impact. You can work it out for yourself. Fife wanted a new campus for Woodhill High, St Columba's and Fife College. Clackmannanshire and Dunblane needed funding to increase affordable housing and improve their schools. Aberdeen budgeted £481 million to be spent over 5 years on capital projects in which £293 million were to be borrowed. All of these plans may now be delayed or halted altogether. That's the real on-the-ground effect. Alexander Stewart said councils are suffering. How does that help them and the communities that they serve? Now, the underlying cause of this, which I recognise as a valid issue, is illustrated by Spelthorne Council in Surrey, which borrowed £1 billion. And what did they do it for? A school, a community centre? No, simply to make commercial investments. And I don't think any of us are going to stand here and defend that approach and this use of that money for that purpose. But if that was the problem, this hardly looks like the solution. The solution is to change the basis on which people can borrow. Woking Council, also in Surrey, borrowed £1.2 billion, a large proportion of which was to buy the town's main shopping centre. These are risky commercial investments that are not central to public works, developing new facilities, improving existing ones. They're meant for sustainable community development, for directly improving the lives of residents. If a main road requires to be built, you have to find the money. Borrowing costs are a significant part of councils' costs, that's for sure, but increasing the Public Works Loan Board rate is simply going to put up that significant burden. The PWB places all authority over the loans on the councils to determine the usage of loans, and most councils behave responsibly. Let's not find the majority of our councils penalised for what I would describe as irresponsible spending by the likes of Spelbourne. Let's make a distinction between loans taken out for proper purposes. It's time for the UK government to rethink that and take a different approach to solving the very genuine problem that led to this issue. Presiding Officer.